Hello, and thank you for joining me today for mindful movement from the neck and spine. This mindful movement is ideal when maybe you have some tension in the neck from either looking down at something or even just holding up our beautiful 8-pound head all day creates stress in the neck that needs to be released. And when we move our spine in the 6 different directions that it goes, it brings some balance back to the spine and brings a little more fluidity back to the body. So this mindful movement for the neck and spine, you can take that in a seat. You can sit on the floor. If that's not comfortable, you are welcome to find a chair and sit in the chair as well. If you're doing this first thing in the morning to begin your day, you could simply sit up in bed and find this movement. Now you may notice that sitting, either sitting on the floor or sitting with your back away from the chair, you tend to begin to slump down and round the spine and round the shoulders. I spent lots of time sitting in a chair at a desk, and so sitting nice and tall is a challenge. And because that's a challenge for me, what I've decided to do to assist my seat is to grab a pillow from my chair. And I just place this beneath my hips. Any firm pillow will do. And when you find this little lift in the hips, the legs drift forward, you may find it a bit easier to sit tall. Now, if sitting with one leg in front of the other isn't comfortable, you could certainly try sitting cross-legged, and that may not work either. And so maybe we take one leg out and spend some time with a leg in and a leg out. If you do that, then switch sides along the way to find that second side. Similarly, you could spend time with your legs just out in front of you, and that would be good too. So wherever you think your comfortable seat might be, take a moment to find that seat in your nice long spine. Shoulders roll up and invite them to be heavy. And the soft shoulders and the head extends out of the neck. So here, beginning in our seat, perhaps you take a moment to close your eyes. And if that feels a little strange, you can take your gaze soft towards the floor, or your gaze soft into the distance. And wherever you might be, just begin to find the breath. And listen to the breath. Find that tiny whisper, your inhale and exhale. Maybe even notice how the inhale expands the body and how the exhale softens. And just taking a few rounds of breath to follow the expansion and softening of your breath. As we move through this mindful movement for our neck and spine, you can use the breath to guide you, but know that it's a practice. It's something we just make an effort at. And so if things don't quite match up, it's no big deal. Just keep breathing. So beginning with our neck, we'll sit nice and tall, just finding some rotations, investigating the mobility of the neck. So we'll take a breath in. With your exhale, let your gaze drift towards your left shoulder. And just see where that tension shows up, where you pause. And then with the inhale, bring the gaze back to center. And with your exhale, take the gaze the opposite direction. And with your inhale, draw the gaze to center. Exhale, taking the gaze over to your left. Inhale back to center. And take your gaze to your right. And inhale back to center. This time we'll take the gaze over to your left. Check out the shoulders, roll them down and sit nice and tall, heavy shoulders. Spend some time here. Maybe gazing in this direction is just enough. Or dip your chin towards your collarbone. Take your eyes and look down towards the floor. Breathe into the right side of your neck. If you find that it's too much, you can always lift the gaze back up. If you notice that your right shoulder wants to pop up, invite the right shoulder to be heavy. Then with your next inhale, lifting the gaze back up. With your exhale, gently coming back to center. Sitting tall as you breathe in, shoulders fall back. With your exhale, take your gaze the opposite direction. Spend time as you are. If this feels good, breathe here, or take your gaze down towards the floor. Check in, notice how this feels. It might be a different depth than the first side. Left shoulder's heavy. As you breathe into the tension, little sensations. With your inhale, lifting the gaze back up to neutral and turning your head back to center once more. And take a moment to notice maybe something feels a little looser, a little more open. So we're going to take this mindful movement, moving down our spine into our thoracic spine. That's the spine that runs from our in between our shoulder blades down into our midline, and a little bit in the lumbar spine. That's your lower spine. As always, any of these things, just take the depth that feels best for you. My twist will look different than yours simply because my dimensions and the way I move is a bit different than anybody else's. We're all unique, all right? So your unique twist. We'll start with an inhale to extend arms towards the ceiling. And then take your arms open from front to back as you turn to your left or your right. We have two sides, so it's all good. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale to the other side, whatever one that might be as you reach arms forward and back. Inhale, lengthening through fingertips. Exhale and open. Follow the breath in as you reach up. And exhale to open. This time we'll inhale, reach arms up. And as you take your twist to this side, bring one hand to your leg, one hand somewhere behind you. Shoulders heavy, sit nice and tall, and take your gaze towards your back shoulder. Doesn't have to go very far. All you got to do here is breathe. Maybe a little length on the inhale. A little softening into the twist with the exhale. Then with your next inhale, release the hands, reach arms up towards the ceiling. And we'll take the second side. One hand comes to a leg, the other hand finds its way somewhere behind you. Again, shoulders heavy, sit tall, and take your gaze towards your back shoulder. Smooth, fluid breath. A gentle expansion on the inhale. And the softening on the exhale. And then the next inhale, we'll sweep arms up, reach through the fingertips, and bring our hands down. Awesome. So we found those two first movements of the 6 movements that your spine can do. That's simply the twist from side to side. The next place we'll move is into a lateral stretch, right? A side stretch. So we'll bring one hand down towards the floor. If that doesn't work, you can also bring your hand to your hip. And then we'll take our right arm long towards the ceiling. Again, we have two sides. Whichever one you start with, awesome. Just do the second side when you're done. And just keep both hips rooted down nice and level as you begin to lean to one side. And just check in with where the sensation is. If it's enough, stay here. If you want a little more, just lean a little more. If this is bothersome for the shoulder, if you find that extending the arm is challenging, you could take less of a reach with the arm. You could take your hand to your shoulder, or you could bring this hand down to the hip. Make this more about the side stretch, not about the extension of the arm. You can keep that gaze forward, or take your gaze down towards the floor. That might feel nice for the neck. Just find a place that's comfortable. You breathe into the stretch of the side body. And then that next inhale, we'll draw ourselves back up. Switching sides, bring the opposite hand out, whether you're reaching or hand to shoulder, keeping the hips nice and rooted evenly as you begin to reach over to the side. So extending the arm is accessible, it works for you. You could also bring your hand behind your head to invite the head to press into the arm, keeping everything open versus what collapsing in might occur. So rolling the shoulders back, sitting tall as you lean to the side. And again, checking in, feeling the sensation through the side body. And taking the gaze towards the floor if that's more comfortable. Forward, or even up towards the ceiling. With the inhale, we'll draw ourselves back up and come back to the neutral spine. So the last two movements is the extension and flexion of the spine. If you could imagine your spine, it's a little different than my arm and my wrist, but the extension is when we arc, and then the flexion is when we bend. Okay? And the spine doesn't have as dramatic of a movement as my wrist would, but it's the same general idea. And so for this movement, it's simple. And just notice how these things feel and take it to your depth. To begin, we'll simply take the gaze towards the ceiling. Inhaling, lifting the gaze, lifting the heart. Check in with the low back. If it's too much, less lift. If you're good to go, breathe here. Opening the heart. And then with your exhale, round the spine. Press the spine back. Take your gaze to the floor. Let the head drop. With an inhale, roll the shoulders back, lift the gaze, finding that little back bend as you breathe in. Your exhale, round the spine, chin to chest. 2 more rounds of our flexion and extension. Inhaling, peeling shoulders back. Exhale, round and draw in. 1 more round as you inhale. Lift the heart and the gaze to your degree. And exhale, round and draw in. And then with your inhale, come back to your neutral spine. Roll the shoulders up and back and down. With nice heavy shoulders. Take a moment again. Maybe close the eyes. Maybe just notice how the spine feels. How the breath feels. I thank you for taking time to find some mindful movement for the neck and spine, releasing tension that can get built up from a day-to-day basis. I hope this helps you, and until we see each other again, have a fantastic day.